Today we are going to deal with the bureaucratic theory proposed by Max Weber. So, what is bureaucracy? First let us see what the term means. Okay? Bureaucracy is the term which is French in origin, and it combines two words from bureau, which means desk in French, and Carlos, which means rule or politics. Okay? So, it is the desk work politics, that is the politics that came into being by the bureaucrats or people who are in power of at the governmental institutions. That is how it is. Okay, it is in 1798 actually that this term was coined by Vincent de Gournay in the mid 18th century. He was a French economist, and the Dictionary of French Academy accepted the word in 1798 as the power. What is bureaucracy? It is the power, the influence of the heads of staff of government bureaus. But later through connotations and through popular usage, the term was mostly used in a negative influence, where bureaucracy was considered as an illness. That is how Vincent de Gournay also stated at first. It is an illness that we have in France, where the people at the desk, or the bureaucratic people, or the people at the desk in charge of the governmental systems are overtaking the power. That is what it means. So, to relieve the term from all the negative connotations, it was actually Max Weber, the German sociologist, who actually formally studied the term or bureaucratic system as such, and it was his works that led to the popularization of the term in the positive sense, or as how it is supposed to be. It was in 1922 that Max Weber, in his essay The Bureaucracy, which is published in Magnus Opus Economy and Society, that he describe the term. So, if we have to understand Max Weber and his bureaucratic theory, first we have to understand what his idea of authority is. So, according to him, power or authority comes in a group. In any group, how can we influence people? There are two ways where how people can be influenced. One is like because of your charisma, or because of your social relationship. Okay, if you are in a group, not because you are a leader, because of your influence in the group, because of the position you hold in the group with or your social relationship, you will be able to influence the group to do as per your order or whatever you say. If the group accepts this thing, that is not because of an authority given to you, it is because of your social relationship. That is one type of carrying out the order or getting the acceptance in the group. And the second is and that is power. Okay, power, he defines it as the probability that one actor within a social relationship, if it is in a group of your friends, one actor, maybe it is you, will be in a position to carry out your will. Okay, will be in a position to carry out your will despite resistance. Even if there are some people who are against your wish, there will be you will have the influence, you will have the power over the group to get your whatever order or your wish granted by the group. So, that is one type of power. While authority, if you are the leader of a group chosen by the group, then you have a legal authority to get your order or your wish or your command done by the group. He defines it as while authority as the probability that, it is a probability that a command with a given specific content will be obeyed by a given group of persons. So, where did this authority come from? It has come from the legitimacy, or you are given the authority to say that. Thus, compared to power, authority is characterized by legitimacy. The first one, where it was a social relationship that influenced, it is the power, and the next one, it is the legitimate authority. So, compared to power, authority is characterized by legitimacy, and this is voluntary obedience by the command the voluntary obedience by the subordinates because of the authority. Thus, what turns power into authority? You have the power because of your influence. How does this power transform to authority? It is through the term legality. When you are legally, you are confirmed the authority to use your power, it becomes authority. So, the legality turns power into authority. Only if you understand this concept, we can go forward with what Weber means through this bureaucratic model. So, he identifies among organizations, among nations, he identifies three types of authority. Okay, One is the traditional authority, second is the charismatic authority, and third is the legal rational authority. First is the traditional authority. So, what is a traditional authority? Traditional authority comes from a past authority that you had, like the feudal society. How does a feudal government or a feudal system work? It is because the kings have been accepted by the people in the past, that they have an authority, and because of this past experience or the authority that has been passed through hereditary through ages, the people accept them or the people obey them. So, the authority that is received through a hereditary process or a tradition or a how the tradition has been passed on, the authority received through that is called the traditional authority. This kind of patrimonial authority receives ready obedience because of the peculiar faith in a traditional status and personal loyalty. So, in a traditional authority, who will be the people who will be taking care of the system? Whoever, if it is a feudal system where it is a king, the king will always appoint the people whom he trusts into the system, okay, the ministers, his personal aides, everywhere in the system, be it technical or otherwise, it will all be the people who please the king or whom the king thinks is good enough to carry out the work, where the trust and faith is more important and loyalty and obedience is more important. Okay, this type of authority or this type of system apparatus, the administrative apparatus in this kind of authority would consist of personal retainers, servants and relatives of the feudal system, the feudal lords, and between the king and the people. Okay, that will be the administrative apparatus. But if we come to the charismatic authority, how does a person in a charismatic authority receive his authority to rule over the people? It is because of the personal charisma that he has. For example, if we take people like Sai Baba or film actors or people of who rule because of their charisma or the personality, even if it is an institution or a country which is ruled by a person who took over because of his charisma, that charismatic authority, the authority that he received is through his charisma, and when he appoints in that administrative structure, in that administrative apparatus, the people whom he appoint will be those whom he favors, who will be subordinate to him, to whom he thinks loyal. So, that type of apparatus, administrative apparatus is also very loose and unstable. So, Weber has identified three types of authority. One is traditional, second is charismatic, and he says both these are very unstable. Okay. So, he proposes the legal rational authority. In a legal rational authority, there is something called legality. So, when somebody is an authority, it is because of the legality given to him. He has been given the authority to rule by the people. So, the people automatically obeys him and takes his orders. So, that type of authority is called the legal rational authority. In this, the right of those elevated on authority under such rules, they have the rights, they have been given the right by people to issue those commands, and this system is based on the rightness of law. So, who rules, who takes the people in? It is the law that takes the people in. It is not because of anybody's influence, it is not because of the charisma of the leader or if it is the governmental system, it is not because of the, in a democratic governmental system, it is not because of the likeness towards the government in power or the person in power that anybody is appointed. If a civil servant is appointed, it is appointed through a legally appointed, where he has been given the right to take charge of the situation. It is not because of his association with the bureaucracy. In the words of Mohit Bhattacharya, the typical administrative apparatus corresponding to this kind of domination is bureaucracy. Legal rational authority actually corresponds to the bureaucratic structure that we see in our day-to-day experience. And Max Weber has laid out some characteristics of a very ideal model of bureaucracy. So, what is this ideal model? Is it a system that exists? No, it is not a system that exists. He says for an administrative apparatus to be the best, okay, of all the three, best is the legal rational authority, and if legal rational authority has to be best, there are some features that this legal rational authority or the bureaucratic system should have to provide the best of service, and this is something ideal which is utopian. It does not exist, but ideally if this exists, then there would not be any problems. It will be the best of administrative system is what Max Weber proposes. So, we will see one by one. It is listed up to 10. One, there is an impersonal order, that is the staff members are personally free, observing only the impersonal duties of their offices. There is no like if I am heading an organization, I am heading it as the head. If I am at the university as the HOD, I am discharging my functions as the HOD. It is very impersonal. If I take a legal action against a teacher, or if I appoint a teacher in the institution, it is not because I like him, it is because the authority, my chair gives me the right to appoint the person through a legal formality. So, it is nothing personal about it, it is totally impersonal. That is what anybody in authority has to be impersonal. That is first characteristic of the ideal bureaucratic model. Second, in any administrative system there has to be a clear hierarchy. That is, everybody in the administrative system should know what is his position, who is he supposed to report to, and who is under his supervision, or who all has he got to see what work is being done. Okay, the hierarchy should be clear as to who is supposed to be reporting to whom. Hierarchy is very important according to ideal bureaucratic model, because unless you know whose orders you are to take, you will not be able to take orders of the superior, because everybody should be under one leader. So, it is more of centralization. The third is there has to be rules. The rules and procedures has to be specific. There has to be clarity on the rules rules and procedures, like be it in discipline or any other thing. For any organization or bureaucratic structure, there has to be specific rules, and the functions of the office has to be clearly specified. The goals of the organization, the functions of each and every administrative individual in the administrative system has to be specified. And the officials in the administrative system, that is the fourth one. The officials in the administrative system has to be appointed on a contract basis. That is, it has to be through a legal formality, not through any biasness. It has to be on contract with a minimum pay and things like that. And then there has to be a sphere of competence. That is the fifth one. What is that? Anybody appointed to in a bureaucratic system has to be qualified enough with certificates. They have to be qualified enough to perform that function. So, there is a specialization for any job that you take in a person in a bureaucratic system in the civil service. You have to see that the person is qualified enough to carry out the functions. So, that will ensure that efficiency of the system is maintained. So, these are factors which Max Weber proposes for an ideal bureaucratic structure. Okay. And the sixth one is that any person in the bureaucracy has to be paid money which will be competent enough to take care of his needs, and he should have benefits like pension and incentives and other benefits. So, monetarily he should not be deprived of any benefits. A person in the bureaucratic structure, first he has to be scientifically appointed by a contract where he gets the legal authority to carry out his duties well, and he has to know where his position is, and then he also has to be paid well, not just in job, even after the job, that he can perform his duties without any hesitation or without any back thoughts. He can do his duties very well and efficiently. And the seventh one that Max Weber proposes is the official's post is his sole or major occupation. For example, a doctor or a civil servant in service has to be his sole profession. It is not that a professionally qualified medical doctor gets into civil service, he comes and does his job as a collector, and evening he goes back and do his clinical practice. No, it is not that way. What Max Weber proposes is a person in bureaucratic structure ideally should be working for the post that he is appointed to, and that should be his sole or main profession. Okay, so that will also again ensure efficiency and dedication, and will give enough time for the work to be done properly. And the eighth one is there should be a career structure and promotion. So, though it is not though it is not much into human relations at that time, still human relations theory at that time, what Max Weber proposes is not just pointing scientifically or giving them enough motivation to work with pension benefits and good salary and all, they should also be given a career plan so that their efficiency is also improved over time. Okay, the next feature is personal and public ends. That is, a person in authority is we have studied it has to be impersonal, and personal and public ends means if I leave the chair as a HOD of a institution, I leave the legacy behind. Whatever I have achieved or whatever money I have brought into the organization, whatever achievements I have brought into the organization, it leaves with the title. Okay, there is nothing that the institution or the bureaucrat can take back to his home. It is all associated with his profession. That is what the 9th point says. Personal and public ends is separated. Another important feature is written documentation. Max Weber states that every document, any communication between the authority has to be documented. Even if it is an oral presentation made, it has to be documented, because documentation is a very important feature of an ideal bureaucratic structure, because for a bureaucratic structure to be working efficiently and without any biasness, you have to make sure that it is legally documented. If somebody says something and later off what's up from his responsibility, it can be eliminated by the implementation of this policy. So, these are the main features, and we can also look into 6 principles which actually combines these features also. Okay. And before that I would like to say that there are some specific characteristics like precision. Okay, precision, there is a continuity. Even if a person in the chair, or even if the HOD or a collector or any professional for that matter leaves the chair, there is a continuity in this. If we are implementing ideal bureaucratic model of Weber, there is a continuity in the chair. Even if the person in the chair moves away, the next person who takes the authority gets a continuity, because everything is legally documented, there is a legal authority passed over to him. All the benefits that the chair has brought into the system is in the organization. So, there is a precision because of the hierarchy is set, the rules and procedures are well documented, rules are in place, procedures are in place, and there is a continuity, there is a discipline because everything is well written down and documented, and there is strictness, and there is also reliability, because there is personal and professional difference which increases the reliability. The person has been given the power legally to conduct the business, and there is a reliability to the system. So, these are the features that is proposed by Max Weber, and these features made it technically the most satisfactory form of an organization according to Max Weber. But these features are also not free from criticism. This has been in the mid 70s. Okay, and the bureaucratic structure has widely changed after that because of the globalization and the demands of human nature of organizations that has come in. And to learn it as a theory part, we can also list down 6 principles of what ideal bureaucratic model that Weber has proposed. First, we have looked at the characteristics of features. Now, if we listed out of principles, we can list out 6 actually. One is the division of labor. So, what is the benefit of having a division of labor? It gives a specialization, and there is a balance between the power and responsibilities. When you specifically know what is your power and what is your responsibility, any person coming to the bureaucratic system, be it a clerk or be it a middleman or be it in the top of the hierarchy, when division of labor is given, you know exactly what you are supposed to do, what is your power, what is your responsibility, what is your submission. Okay. So, that is one principle, that is proper division of labor. Anybody in the hierarchical system should specifically know what he is supposed to do, what is his power, who is he reporting to, or whose orders he is supposed to take, what exactly is his job. Division of labor means what exactly is his job. Everybody in the system should specifically know what his job is. Second principle that ideal bureaucratic model proposes is the chain of command. The organization should have a specific hierarchy, as I mentioned earlier. The information, why should we have a hierarchy? It is not just to provide an order in the organization, it also makes clear how information flows. So, this was proposed in that time. Today when we talk about the system model, it is more open, where the organization structure is more of an amoebic type than a pyramidal style. But when Weber was proposing it, considering the charismatic or the traditional authority that was happening, the legal rational authority and the ideal bureaucratic model was supposed to be the best. That is why the chain of command becomes more important, because only if we have a proper chain of command, we will know how the information has to flow, because centralization was the most discussed point at that time. So, everybody should know from whom the information has to come and through which hierarchy the information has to flow, or not only information and decision. Okay, that will ensure more efficiency and effectiveness. And the next principle is application of consistent and complete rules. That is, there has to be proper rules and regulations, and this rules and regulations has to be followed not just in the bottom level, even the highest authority. If it is a administrative structure, even the collector or the minister, anybody in the system has to will come under the rules. Okay. So, it has to be there in every step of the organization, and everybody is equally applicable. For every member of the organization, the rules has to be equally applicable, and this makes it more acceptable. And the next principle is selection based on qualification, and the skills, experience, the age, the education, these should be the criteria while appointing any person in a bureaucratic structure. And this will ensure that the job will be done effectively, because the person is quite qualified. Among all the applicants, the best qualified person should be appointed for the job to which he is, the appointment has to be made as per the necessary qualification. So, the best person will definitely reach the job. And the sixth principle is training in job requirements and skill. Such people who are scientifically selected to the organization should be given enough proper training, so that, and their skills should be developed, and they should be given promotion and other benefits so that they perform well. And there should be consistency in the organization's action also. But Weber's model, as time went by, was open to a lot of criticisms, and some basic criticisms are we can point out is: one, the emphasis is more on rules and regulations and formalities. Weber has emphasized more on how rules and procedures has to be there, and it was very strict adherence to rules and procedures. For that matter, we can say that the whether the job is getting done or not was not important. It was how the work is carried out. Have you come to office in time? Have you is your attendance proper? These type of rules are all the documents being submitted. If it is for a relief program, for example, rules has to be given more importance, means are all the documents in place. If a poor man is coming without proper documents, the end should be the justice should be delivered. But if you follow the Weber's ideal bureaucratic model, the papers or the rules and procedures will be given more importance. So, that is a criticism. Emphasis is more on rules and procedures and formalities rather than the ends. The means itself is becoming an end, is what the critics say. And then coordination and communication becomes difficult in such a very strict hierarchical order. When we maintain that strict hierarchical order, which directs the flow of information and communication and decisions from top to bottom, it makes communication pretty difficult, because in a democratic system or in a bureaucratic setup, decisions have to be taken very quickly or in response to the situations or whatever emergency situations come in. So, when we give more focus to the rules and procedures and also the hierarchical authority wise, it becomes quite difficult to communicate in case of emergencies, and there is unnecessarily delay in decision making because of this. That is another criticism, and too much of formality and too much of paperwork is another major criticism raised against Weber's ideal bureaucratic model. And employees' dedication, so human relations was not given much of a consideration when bureaucratic model came into existence. The motivation of the employees or the employee angle. See, even if a person is appointed as a collector who is very well qualified for the job, his attitude would would matter while making a decision, his personality. So, that factors was not considered. What Weber said is, you appoint a person well qualified for the post that you are looking for, you train him, you give him all the motivation, like you give him enough money, you pay him well, you train him, you give him promotion, you give him pension, and you have all the rules and procedures set in place, and there is a absolute division between personal ends and professional ends. Everything will be fine, all the structure will be such a legal rational authority structure will be the best to carry out the authority or the power. But the person who is doing it, the character or the affinity or the personality of the person, the attitude of the person doing the work is also a major factor which Weber missed out. So, if a clerk is supposed to be signing off the papers, he is a person with a bad attitude who takes back and collects the papers and keeps, he is not punctual, then even if it is an ideal bureaucratic model, even if rules and procedures are there, the person's attitude also matters. So, that is one major criticism. I hope you enjoyed the session and it was informative enough. Thank you.